The Detroit Tigers prove they are consistently inconsistent and drop 2 of 3 to the Houston Astros. We have that and much more to talk about all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The Detroit Tigers dropped 2 of 3 at the hands of the Houston Astros, unfortunately. So they dropped 2 of 3. They are now 34-37 on the season. In this weekend, they had 2 of the 3 games, the 2 losses, obviously, where they combined for 1 run and then scored 13 on Saturday. It's unbelievably frustrating that this keeps happening, right? Continuously. This happens. And not necessarily, they dropped 2 of 3 and score, 10 or 15 or whatever in the one win. It's just they are good for about once a week, once every 10 games, whatever, when you average it out. They had a couple last week where they just randomly will explode. And then the next 4 days will score 3 total runs. And it is unbelievably frustrating, right? That is Sunday's performance, where they almost got no hit, is exactly why nobody was oozing with confidence or like freaking out with excitement after Saturday. We have seen this movie before a lot. It's a good movie when they score 13 runs. Great film. Highly recommend. But it's very tiring and exhausting to just know, okay, well, they probably haven't actually turned a corner, because the last 5 times they've decided to do this, nothing has changed big picture over the long run. And that is precisely what happened here. This team has gone 2-4 in their last 6 and is 3-7 in its last 10. If they won on Sunday and put up a decent run total, I'd probably have a different tone. I probably would. I'd probably be a little more reactionary to the positive side of things and be like, you know what? The offense exploded Saturday, and whatever, they scored 5, 6, 7 runs in a win on Sunday. That's great. Maybe, I don't know if I would have been like, maybe they're turning it around, right? I think I would like to think at least that I'd want to see a bigger sample size before jumping to any conclusion that dramatic. But it would at least be something after getting blanked on Friday. It'd be some sort of a sign of a turnaround. Unfortunately, for myself and all of you fine listeners on this Monday, we don't do an episode after every weekend series, or every weekend series game, rather. So unfortunately, we did not get all the excitement out of our system. Jake Rietma, who does the postcasts, he does episodes every weekend. Be sure to check him out. Unfortunately, we know that the team fell back down to earth immediately, like we all not necessarily expected. I don't want to make it seem like we were all just like, oh, they're going to, get no hit tomorrow after this. Maybe it's a joke. But like, I'm not sure that was that dramatic of a swing was expected. But no one trusted it for a reason. And Sunday, it was just, unfortunately, just reinforcement of that belief. They're going to need to put up a legitimate sample size of good offense for people to change their opinions of it. And there's a very decent chance that that just never comes. And this is just about what the team is, an around 500 team that's really inconsistent offensively and has the ability to put up runs in bunches every once in a blue moon, but on a consistent basis is going to grade out in the bottom half, bottom 10 in baseball. So what went wrong? The offense on Friday and Sunday. Is that a big surprise to anybody? Also, Ronel Blanco is really good. Really good. I saw somebody on Twitter was talking about how he might be an all-star. If he is, he deserves it. He has had a fantastic season, 30 years old, and is, hitting his stride. Fantastic. But like this offense, it's one thing to go out there and be unproductive. It's another to get almost combined no hit against. Riley Greene followed up a 2-home run performance in which he was an absolute force, had 6 RBIs or something crazy on Saturday, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Consistency. Sunday is why no one cared about Saturday in a big picture sense. And that is what analyzing these players, that is what makes analyzing these players so fascinating when you zoom out. It's very easy to just come on here and be like, oh, look, so-and-so had a 3-hit game. That's great. Look, hopefully they're turning a corner. But I think we're all to a point, we're deep enough into this thing at this point, right? Mid-June, where no one is going to turn heads unless this offense gets a lick of consistency in it. Whether that's an individual player, because Riley Greene is the best healthy hitter. He has been nowhere close to the definition of consistent. Hopefully when Kerry Carpenter's healthy again, if that's relatively soon, then maybe we can add him to that list. But there's not really very much consistency at all happening with this team right now. And that's why they're 3 games under 500. Also, Ryan Kreidler not touching first base was just, I was hot watching that. That was very frustrating. And like, obviously he didn't try to. Like, I'm sure he was frustrated about it as well. But golly, that was tough. That was really tough. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling here. Going to talk about Kenta Maeda for a second, then we'll talk about what went right, and then we have a boatload of stuff to talk about in stuff. We will do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet on it all at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Also going to tell y'all about our friends over at Prize Picks. Again, it is summertime and baseball season is in full swing. You can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you are locked in. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. So get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Again, the finals are in full swing. You got NBA Finals, 3-1 series, Stanley Cup Finals, 3-1 series. Get in on all the action with those until basketball and hockey season, rather, I almost said football season end. And then obviously you have baseball season, which is in full swing. I love to look at starting pitcher strikeout numbers. I say that all the time, but it genuinely is a part of just my routine, and it's a really, really fun thing to do. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will be back tomorrow recapping Game 1 against the Atlanta Braves and talking about anything else that happens in and around the Tigers organization. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. You can subscribe for free on YouTube. It's a 24/7 streaming channel from all of our great hosts here out at Locked On, programmed to just show you all of the great news happening in sports. Again, you can subscribe for free on YouTube or check it out for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Talking about what went wrong this weekend, where the Tigers dropped 2 of 3 to the Houston Astros. 2 games, the offense did not show up whatsoever, and in 1 game, they absolutely exploded for 13 runs. Finishing up our segment here on what went wrong this weekend. Unfortunately, Kenta Maeda finds himself in this category yet again. His ERA on the season is now over 6. Look, the fastball is just not there. That's really where this conversation starts. And then we talk about a lot of other stuff. And then we just revert back, and it ends with the fastball is just not very effective. And the splitter doesn't have awful numbers against it. He doesn't even finish a lot of hitters off with his splitter. I guess that's the point I'm trying to portray. It's his best swing and miss pitch, and it's not something that he offers to or goes to in 2 strike counts or in must get a swing and miss type of situation. And a lot of times when he does, he misses completely, right? If you can have good numbers again, it has a sub 200 batting average. You can have good numbers against it. Well, that doesn't really take into consideration the times where it's not even offered against, right? Where the hitter doesn't even take a hack at it. And that's going on an awful lot, really, with all of his pitches. But especially his splitter, which is his best pitch still objectively, and with his fastball that has just been wildly ineffective since putting on an Old English D, unfortunately. So we'll talk about this a little bit more in stuff at the end, but I think there needs to be legitimate conversations starting about Kenta Maeda's future with the Detroit Tigers. I think that we're at a point now where we're deep enough into this thing, where we're legitimate questions about how much longer can you throw him out there every 5th day need to start being had. Okay, so we'll talk about that again a little bit more in stuff. Let's talk about what went right this weekend. The offense on Saturday, shocker to everybody. Riley Greene, 2 home runs. As much as I was frustrated with the bounce back performance on Sunday, that was not just a Riley Greene thing. That was everybody. Pretty much nobody got hits. And again, Blanco is a heck of a pitcher, having a really, really good year and was spinning it really well. Riley Greene, after Saturday, he's on pace for about 30 home runs. Now, a couple of things there. 1, every single game that is going to change a little bit. But 2 is in much more large conversation is just his health, right? Everybody is questioning, that's a 30 home run pace over 162. So we're going to need him to stay healthy, which he has yet to do so far for a full season at the major league level. But yeah, he has been swinging again better lately, but it's just been it's been really, really hot streaks and then really cold streaks and then hot streaks and then cold streaks. It's been kind of a roller coaster of a season for Riley Greene. But that all being said, if you would have told me, certainly going into this season, that he was going to hit 30 homers, I probably would have taken it. So we will see if he's able to maintain that pace. If it's a little bit, again, more consistency is what I'm asking for across the board from everybody. And that includes Matt Vierling, who has been, I think, kind of the poster child for being inconsistent lately. He does not have a ton of hits over the last 3 weeks, relatively speaking. But that being said, maybe it's not that long of a sample size. Maybe it's like 10 to 14 games, somewhere around there. But almost all of them are like big damage, like several home runs in there, et cetera, or big hits at a minimum. And so, Matt Vierling has always been kind of a baseball savant darling, right? For people that use savant. Vierling has always been someone that grades out well. We talked about that in the preseason when we were doing our player previews for him, right? He has a ton of tools. He is fast. He has power that's within him. And you're starting to see that come to fruition this season. In 2022, 6 home runs. In 2023, 10 home runs. In 2024, he already has 9 home runs. He is on a 20 home run pace at the time of this recording. He does not swing and miss very often. He does not chase out of the zone very often. Now, he doesn't walk either, but that's because he makes contact on balls that are in the strike zone. So he's striking out at about a league average clip. But if you look, I want everyone to look at his spray chart. This is exactly what we were talking about all offseason. The singles are spread all over the field. All 9 home runs, 100% of his home runs are to the pull side. And in a season where not only just looking at the Tigers, but offense across the entire game of baseball is down dramatically, right? You look at OPS pluses, you're getting like 715, 720 OPSs are above 100 OPS pluses. And he's rolling in right now with a 759 OPS and a 261 average, and is already almost at double-digit home runs halfway through June. I think that the adjustments that I just want to give him credit where credit is due. We talked about all the adjustments that were needed after last season that he was making over the winter. We talked about it ad nauseum, and it seems like he really has done a ton of work to put those into practice. And I think it is paying off. I still think there's another level that he can get to with all of the tools he does have. So he still frustrates me sometimes. And we talk about his RISP stats and all that. But at the end of the day, over the course of the season, this dude has taken another big step forward in a league that has taken a step back offensively. And it's due to a lot of the adjustments that he has made at the plate. So just want to give him some flowers there. What else went right this weekend? Andy Ibanez has been swinging a decent stick lately. Want to give him some credit. I think Jack Flaherty's all that is left, really, on the pure things that went really, really well over the weekend. And it was also, unfortunately, in that, I say unfortunately because the Tigers scored 13 runs and they didn't need it. I know that the Astros ended up scoring some runs, but the Tigers threw Mason Englert out there at one point. Like, they wouldn't have done that if it was a closer game. So Jack Flaherty has been phenomenal, and he goes 5 innings of shutout balls, 6 strikeouts. He is in the 95th percentile in whiff rate, K rate, and walk rate. He is striking out and getting swings and misses against everyone, and he is walking no one. He has a sub-1 whip now on the season and an ERA down to 3.01. And that's even a little bit just skewed based on 2 or 3 rough starts in April, where he was still getting a lot of strikeouts, but when he was hit, he was getting hit hard and gave up some runs there. But if you look at his last 5 to 8, it's a very, very low sub-3, obviously, ERA. The biggest difference has been something that has been talked about with Flaherty for the last 4 years, and Chris Fetter and co. Chris Fetter, Robin Lund, Juan Nieves, etc., have done a fantastic job of getting his fastball to a place where it is effective yet again. right? When you look back at Jack Flaherty in 2019, he had one of the best fastballs in all of baseball. In 2021, he had a positive run value still. Baseball Savant, it's a cool stat. Run value goes through and puts an exact value on every pitch type based on situation, stats against a bunch of factors. Still was positive in 2021. This year, it is positive for the first time since 2021. Now, we are not even halfway through this season. Okay. We still have a lot of baseball yet to play. But the fact that halfway through June, this dude has had such a great season and has had the season he has had while having a positive run value and good numbers against and good metrics, all of that with his fastball is a fantastic sign. And that sets up the slider, which has also been an unbelievable pitch for him this season. Can't say enough good things about Jack Flaherty so far on the year. And his name is going to be a big topic of conversation at the end of July when the trade deadline is approaching. You want to make these conversations less about selling for the 95th year in a row? Obviously an exaggeration. Win some ball games. Because if you don't, Jack Flaherty is getting traded. We can talk about extension possibilities. We certainly can have a full episode dedicated to that. We can talk about that. But at a bare minimum, Flaherty's name is going to be heavily thrown around at the trade deadline if the Tigers are under 500 or not in the race. Okay, let's talk stuff. Got a lot to talk about in stuff. A lot of small news reports happened over the weekend. Got a lot to cover there. We will do that right after this. Got to talk to you all today about our friends over at Supply House. Get supplies from the site that is made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. Get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, you can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge as well by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, let's talk stuff. Tarek Skubal this weekend. Didn't feel super comfortable putting him in the positive category, in the category of, what went right, but also didn't feel comfortable putting him in the category of what went wrong. So he finds himself in stuff. I'm really not too worried. It was bound to happen eventually. Like a sub-2 ERA over the course of the full season is absolutely asinine. So I wasn't expecting him to be necessarily this dominant every start, but also like how high the bar is set for him. He gave up 4 runs, not like 12, right? Like I saw some people that were like, oh, he's not going to win Cy Young anymore. Like, no, he's still the favorite. That's it. He gave up 4 runs. Like, it's okay. It's just this offense is so inconsistent and struggles so much that when Tarek Skubal gives up 4 runs, it feels like the weight of the world is kind of I've probably on his shoulders, or at least it feels like it from a viewing perspective at home. So, look, it really just the command wavered as the outing went along. He was dicing them through 4 innings, and then in the 5th, just got away from him. He said he only regrets 1 pitch. It was the pitch to Bregman. It kind of tracks. Yeah, I really didn't think it was that bad of an outing. It's just baseball sometimes, man. You make 1 bad pitch and an outing can go from pretty good to pretty poor, just like that. So I'm really not worried about it. It's not like this was some terrible catastrophic, oh my goodness, the stuff was awful, the command was awful. No, he was fine throughout most of it. Just wavered a little bit at the end there. I think that's pretty much it for the weekend. Javi Baez got an injection in his back and will be reevaluated soon. It sounds like that soon is early this week, and today's Monday, so I would imagine that'll happen actually soon. Alex Lang left a Mud Hens game with an upper body injury. It sounds like it's throwing arm, and it doesn't sound good. So that's not great for a guy who is trying to, I don't want to say reinvent, but was trying to work through a lot of issues that he was having on the field just with an inability to throw strikes consistently. Went to Toledo, has been working on it. Hinch said it didn't look good. I do not have very high hopes for him to pitch a lot of baseball over the next month, 2 months, maybe the season. I don't know. I'm notoriously not a doctor. And I'm not even sure the diagnosis has actually been revealed to the public yet. I'm not even sure they know, but it didn't look great. So we'll keep that in mind, and we will keep an eye on that. Jackson Jobe, in a positive light, it looks like is going to make a rehab start pretty soon here. So that is great news for the now top pitching prospect, top two. Well, if Skeens is gone, then he's probably the top pitching prospect in baseball. But there's some argument about that depending on what list you look at. Either way, one of the most exciting prospects in this organization. It wasn't an arm injury either. It was just a hamstring. So I'm really not too worried about that. If anything, I don't know, maybe like weirdly a blessing in disguise, way to limit the innings a little bit. We'll see what he does when he gets back out there. But always excited to watch him pitch and excited that he is going to be back in the thick of things in the minors. Okay, so the only other 2 points before we get to our Braves preview here is Parker Meadows has just been swinging a really hot stick lately. You know, Akil Baddoo changed his mechanics a lot, still has a sub 200 batting average and OPS in the 600s. I think there is probably a conversation to be had for Parker Meadows returning to the majors. Also, just having a set everyday center fielder from a defensive standpoint, right? Obviously, Hinch is going to mix and match lineups. I don't imagine Parker is going to get a ton of opportunities against lefties immediately if he does return anytime soon. This is like a hunch. Like this is, he's been swinging the bat really well. We just talked about this last week, and I came on here and was like, it might take a little while longer. I don't know. There's been a lot of reports about the Tigers coaching staff liking what they have seen from him down there, and it sounds like the rumblings are getting louder and louder. So I didn't learn anything new, but the people that do have ins with the organization are learning things that are new. So just piggybacking off of the great reporting by all of our fantastic beat writers here. And yeah, if that is the case, then I think that it probably is Baddoo, which a lot of people pointed out when we had that conversation last week about who would go down if Meadows was to come up. And that makes sense, right? I don't think you're going to send, Yo-Yo Malloy. You're not going to send him right back down. It's not going to be Vierling. It's not going to be Mark Canha. It's not going to be Riley Greene. That kind of leaves Baddoo. And again, he hasn't had substantially different numbers than he has had at the major league level for the last 2 years almost now. So I think that's something to watch out for. We'll keep tabs on that, but he's just been swinging really well lately. And I think, again, the biggest thing, more so than numbers, because he should be hitting really well in AAA, I think the biggest thing I'm looking for personally is how he's addressed the holes that he has in his strike zone, the big one being fastballs up and away. We talk about that a lot. Evan Petzold has said that that's something that he has been working on in Toledo. So hopefully, if he is recalled at some point, that's something that was addressed and that he's improved on. Kenta Maeda, his future. I don't have too much else to add, but I do want to just dedicate time to having the discussion about how much longer this goes on. It's really unfortunate because I was pretty excited about Maeda in the offseason, and Flaherty was the one that I was a little bit more nervous about. And now clearly the exact opposite has happened because baseball. And Flaherty has been genuinely one of the better pitchers in the American League over the last 2 months. And Kenta Maeda is to the point where I legitimately think we have to start having like the heavy conversation about how many more starts does he get? right? You signed him to a 2-year deal, not a 6-year deal. This isn't Javi. This isn't, okay, well, they're kind of, the organization's hands are kind of tied and you just can't like cut somebody with 4.5 years left, right? You have a year and a half. He's not making 100 mil. Like you have a year and a half left on this contract. You are dangerously close to just eating it. I really do think they are. I see no possible scenario that we get into post trade deadline, right? When a lot of waivers, action is going to happen on August 1st, as it always does every year anyway. I see no way we get into August, unless he's turned it around. Obviously, if he turns around and starts pitching really well, then this conversation is moot. But like, if he maintains an ERA of 6 and tops out at 89, 90 miles an hour and has really poor command, I just don't know how much longer. I don't know how much longer the team can do it. I really don't. Maybe weirdly, this is some sort of test on just to the front office, that is, and just about how competitive they want to be, right? I think that, and it's not just completely, Kenta Maeda is the person that determines how competitive the Tigers are portraying themselves as or whatnot. It's not that all in or all out, but I do think that there is something to be said for, again, man, like I just don't know how much longer we can send him out there every 5th day. It's borderline batting practice. We thought it was just, I shouldn't put words in everybody else's mouth because I know a lot of people were kind of out on him pretty early in the season. So that's not fair. But I was like, oh, let's just see what happens in May because he's always been, he's always struggled in April. Let's see what happens in May. And then he had like 2 good starts in May. And they've been all pretty poor since. So in that conversation is unfortunately here. Tigers kick off a 3-game set against the Atlanta Braves today, as you're listening to this, on Monday, 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time start time on Monday and Tuesday, and then at 12:20, a midday game on Wednesday. You got Reese Olson against Max Fried. Then you have, I believe, Casey Mize. Yeah, Casey Mize against Spencer Schwellenbach. And then on Wednesday, you have Tarek Skubal against Reynaldo Lopez. Reynaldo Lopez has been absolutely sensational this season. Going back into starting pitcher role for the Braves, he has been phenomenal. So that is going to be a pitcher's duel on Wednesday. What do I always say about Tarek? Love when he pitches game 1 in the series. Love when he pitches game 3 in a series. So hopefully that's a good sign. The Braves, look, the Braves fans are nervous, and the national media is like, oh, the Braves are taking a step back. They've had a lot of injury problems on the pitching side of things. They've lost one of the best pitchers in all of baseball in Spencer Strider. They also lost the reigning NL MVP and Ronald Acuna Jr. That's 2 of the arguably 5 or 10 best players, any position in the sport, off their team that they were going to count and rely on this season. They're still 38-31 on the season, still a far better roster than the Detroit Tigers. So even though this has been kind of a quote unquote letdown of a start to the year for them, or a first, 60, 65 games for them, they are still obviously better than the sub 500 Detroit Tigers. And the Braves are 4-6 in their last 10. The Tigers are 3-7, right? This is, no matter how you slice it, this is still a very, very talented roster that is still very much trying to win baseball games and is going to still win plenty. So got your work cut out for you over the next 3. I think that's all I got. Happy Father's Day to all. If I'm burnt. Look at this. Look at this. Can't believe I almost want to cut that. I don't even want, that's like, whoo-wee. Went up north to Toronto for the weekend for a Father's Day trip with the old man. Saw a Blue Jays game this weekend, which was very, very fun. Him and I have done, I think around 20 of the 30 parks together now, trying to see all 30 together. And yeah, man, there's nothing like family and baseball on the planet. Nothing will ever compare to me than just sitting down and watching a game with my old man. So yeah, just, again, I say it all the time, but for as much as we get or I get, frustrated sometimes with I don't know, the Detroit Tigers and with the lack of success this team has portrayed and put up in my adult life. Still love this game more than most things on this planet. Still think it's the greatest game ever created, and getting to spend a weekend with pops and watch some ball is it's always good. Bad day at the ballpark is better than most days anyway. So happy Father's Day to all of the great fathers out there, grandfathers, stepfathers, you name it. If you're a father figure in someone's life, thank you so much for all that you do. And we'll be back tomorrow. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.